At the Hospital Geral de Sao Paulo, the intensive care unit buzzed with the usual sounds of beeping monitors and hushed conversations. João, an ordinary man of 35 years, lay motionless on a hospital bed, deep in a coma that had lasted for 6 months. His family visited daily, holding on to the hope that one day he would wake up and return to them. Little did they know that when João did awaken, their lives would be changed forever. It was a quiet afternoon when the unexpected happened. João's eyelids fluttered, and the monitor beside his bed began to beep more rapidly. Nurse Anna, who had been attending to another patient, noticed the change and rushed to his side. Her heart raced as she saw João's eyes slowly open, revealing a confused and distant gaze. "Doutor, ele está acordando." Nurse Anna called out, her voice filled with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. Dr. Carlos, a seasoned physician who had been following João's case closely, hurried over. He leaned in, his eyes searching João's face for signs of recognition. "João, você pode me ouvir? Como se sente?" João blinked, his mind a foggy haze. He struggled to piece together where he was and what had happened. When he finally spoke, his words were not in Portuguese, but in fluent Chinese. "Was I nele? Fashingal Shenmi sure?" Nurse Anna's eyes widened in shock. She turned to Dr. Carlos, her voice barely a whisper. "Ele está falando, chins?" Dr. Carlos frowned, trying to make sense of the situation. "João, você entende o que estou dizendo?" he asked, hoping for a response in Portuguese. But João's expression remained one of confusion, and he continued to speak in Chinese, asking questions about his whereabouts and what had happened to him. The news of João's miraculous awakening and his inexplicable ability to speak Chinese spread quickly through the hospital. Specialists were called in, and João underwent a series of tests to determine the extent of his injuries and the reason behind his newfound linguistic skills. Neurologists, linguists, and psychologists all gathered to study this extraordinary case. As the days passed, João's family arrived, their faces etched with worry and hope. His mother, Maria, held his hand tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Meu filho, você voltou para nós," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. But João's response was still in Chinese, and he struggled to communicate with his loved ones. Dr. Carlos and his team worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between João and his family. They brought in translators and language experts to help João relearn Portuguese while trying to uncover the mystery behind his sudden fluency in Chinese. The hospital room became a hub of activity, with doctors, nurses, and specialists coming and going, each contributing their expertise to the case. One evening, as João sat in his bed, a translator named Lime entered the room. She was a kind woman with gentle eyes, and she spoke to João in Chinese, hoping to ease his confusion. "Ni hao, chiao. Ni gonjue zenmi yang?" João looked at her, relief washing over him as he finally understood someone. "Wabu jido fashingal shenmi. Wa zenmi hue shua zhongwen." Li Mei smiled reassuringly. "Women hue jiao dunda. Ching naishi nixia." She explained to him that he had been in a coma for 6 months and that his ability to speak Chinese was as much a mystery to them as it was to him. As the days turned into weeks, João's progress was slow but steady. He began to remember fragments of his life before the accident, though his memories were still hazy. With Lime's help, he started to relearn Portuguese, and bit by bit, he was able to communicate more effectively with his family and the medical staff. During this time, João's case attracted attention from the media and the scientific community. Experts from around the world were intrigued by his condition, and theories ranged from the plausible to the fantastical. Some suggested that Joao's brain had rewired itself in a unique way, unlocking a latent ability to speak Chinese. Others speculated about past lives and the mysteries of the human mind. Despite the whirlwind of attention, Joao remained focused on his recovery. He spent hours each day in therapy, working to regain his physical strength and mental clarity. His family was a constant source of support, their presence a comforting reminder of the life he was fighting to reclaim. One afternoon, as Joao sat in his room practicing Portuguese with Li Mei, a sudden memory flashed before his eyes. He saw himself in a bustling market, surrounded by people speaking Chinese. The vividness of the memory took his breath away, and he turned to Li Mei, his voice trembling. Wajide, wazai yide shirchangli, suyo ren do zai shua zhongwan. Li Mei looked at him with surprise. Ni ichien tsugua zhongua ma. Joao shook his head, confusion clouding his eyes. Bu, what songlai mayo likai guabaxi. The memory raised more questions than answers, but it was a breakthrough nonetheless. Dr. Carlos and his team were fascinated by the possibility that Joao's brain had somehow accessed a memory or experience that he had never consciously had. They delved deeper into his medical history, looking for any clues that might explain this phenomenon. As the weeks turned into months, Joao's condition continued to improve. He regained his ability to speak Portuguese fluently, though his Chinese remained intact. The duality of his linguistic abilities puzzled the experts, but it also opened new doors for Joao. He began to embrace his unique situation, using his skills to connect with people from different cultures and backgrounds. Joao's story became a symbol of resilience and the mysteries of the human mind. He was invited to speak at conferences and share his experience, inspiring others with his journey of recovery and self-discovery. Though the exact cause of his condition remained a mystery, Joao chose to see it as a gift rather than a burden. In time, Joao returned to a semblance of normalcy, though his life would never be the same. He continued to work with specialists, exploring the depths of his mind and the extraordinary abilities it had revealed. His family stood by him every step of the way, their love and support unwavering. The accident that had once seemed like a tragic end had become a new beginning for Joao. He had awakened not just to a new language, but to a new understanding of himself and the world around him. And as he looked to the future, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he had the strength and determination to face them head-on. At the Hospital Geral de São Paulo, the intensive care unit was a place of both hope and despair. Joao, an ordinary man of 35 years, lay in a coma for 6 months following a severe car accident. His family, especially his wife Maria, visited him daily, holding on to the hope that he would one day wake up and return to them. The day finally came when Joao opened his eyes, but what followed was beyond anyone's imagination. As Joao's eyelids fluttered open, the monitor beside his bed began to beep rapidly. Nurse Anna, noticing the change, rushed to his side, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. "Doubter, ele está acordando," she called out, her voice trembling. Dr. Carlos, a seasoned physician who had been closely monitoring Joao's case, hurried over. Leaning in, he searched Joao's face for signs of recognition. "Joao, você pode me ouvir? Como se sente?" Joao blinked, his mind a foggy haze. Struggling to piece together where he was and what had happened, he finally spoke, but his words were not in Portuguese. "Was I nele? Fashingel shen me sure?" Nurse Anna's eyes widened in shock. She turned to Dr. Carlos, her voice barely a whisper. "Ele está falando, chins?" Dr. Carlos frowned, trying to make sense of the situation. "João, você entende o que estou dizendo?" he asked, hoping for a response in Portuguese. João's expression remained one of confusion, and he continued to speak in Chinese, asking questions about his whereabouts and what had happened to him. The news of João's miraculous awakening and his inexplicable ability to speak Chinese spread quickly through the hospital. Specialists were called in, and João underwent a series of tests to determine the extent of his injuries and the reason behind his newfound linguistic skills. Neurologists, linguists, and psychologists all gathered to study this extraordinary case. As the days passed, João's family arrived, their faces etched with worry and hope. Maria, his wife, held his hand tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Meu filho, você voltou para nós," she whispered, her voice breaking with emotion. But João's response was still in Chinese, and he struggled to communicate with his loved ones. Dr. Carlos and his team worked tirelessly to bridge the gap between João and his family. They brought in translators and language experts to help João relearn Portuguese while trying to uncover the mystery behind his sudden fluency in Chinese. The hospital room became a hub of activity, with doctors, nurses, and specialists coming and going, each contributing their expertise to the case. One evening, as João sat in his bed, a translator named Limei entered the room. She was a kind woman with gentle eyes, and she spoke to João in Chinese, hoping to ease his confusion. "Ni hao, Chiao. Ni gonjue zenmi yang?" João looked at her, relief washing over him as he finally understood someone. "Wabu jido fashingle shenmi. Wa zenmi hue shua zhongwen." Li Mei smiled reassuringly. "Women hue jiao dunda. Ching naishi nixia." She explained to him that he had been in a coma for 6 months and that his ability to speak Chinese was as much a mystery to them as it was to him. As the days turned into weeks, João's progress was slow but steady. He began to remember fragments of his life before the accident, though his memories were still hazy. With Li Mei's help, he started to relearn Portuguese, and bit by bit, he was able to communicate more effectively with his family and the medical staff. However, João's condition took an unexpected turn when he began to have vivid visions of a past life. He saw himself in ancient China, not as an ordinary man, but as a respected professor of philosophy. The memories were so detailed and clear that they felt more real than his current life. He remembered teaching students, discussing profound philosophical concepts, and living in a time that seemed centuries away from the present. One afternoon, as João sat in his room practicing Portuguese with Li Mei, a sudden memory flashed before his eyes. He saw himself in a bustling market, surrounded by people speaking Chinese. The vividness of the memory took his breath away, and he turned to Li Mei, his voice trembling. "Wajide, wazai yide shirchangli, suyo ren do zai shua zhongwen." Li Mei looked at him with surprise. "Ni ichien tsuwa zhongwa ma." João shook his head, confusion clouding his eyes. "Bu, what songlai mayo likai guabaxi." The memory raised more questions than answers, but it was a breakthrough nonetheless. Dr. Carlos and his team were fascinated by the possibility that João's brain had somehow accessed a memory or experience that he had never consciously had. They delved deeper into his medical history, looking for any clues that might explain this phenomenon. As the weeks turned into months, João's condition continued to improve. He regained his ability to speak Portuguese fluently, though his Chinese remained intact. The duality of his linguistic abilities puzzled the experts, but it also opened new doors for Joao. He began to embrace his unique situation, using his skills to connect with people from different cultures and backgrounds. One evening, Maria visited Joao in his hospital room. She sat beside him, her eyes filled with a mixture of love and sorrow. "Joao, você lembra de mim? Nos somos casados há 10 anos." Joao looked at her, his eyes distant. "Wajide ni donwa jide lingi zhong xinghua." He struggled to find the words in Portuguese. "Eu me lembro de você, mas também me lembro de outra vida." Maria's heart ached as she listened to him. She fought to accept the reality that the man she loved was now a stranger in many ways. She tried to reconnect with him, sharing stories of their life together, hoping to rekindle the bond they once had. Dr. Carlos, on the other hand, became increasingly obsessed with understanding Joao's condition. He saw Joao as more than just a patient, he was an enigma, a puzzle that needed to be solved. Dr. Carlos spent countless hours researching similar cases, consulting with experts worldwide, and conducting tests to uncover the truth behind Joao's abilities and memories. Despite the whirlwind of attention and the challenges he faced, Joao remained focused on his recovery. He spent hours each day in therapy, working to regain his physical strength and mental clarity. His family was a constant source of support, their presence a comforting reminder of the life he was fighting to reclaim. Joao's story attracted attention from the media and the scientific community. Experts from around the world were intrigued by his condition, and theories ranged from the plausible to the fantastical. Some suggested that Joao's brain had rewired itself in a unique way, unlocking a latent ability to speak Chinese and access past life memories. Others speculated about the mysteries of the human mind and the possibility of reincarnation. In time, Joao returned to a semblance of normalcy, though his life would never be the same. He continued to work with specialists, exploring the depths of his mind and the extraordinary abilities it had revealed. His family stood by him every step of the way, their love and support unwavering. The accident that had once seemed like a tragic end had become a new beginning for Joao. He had awakened not just to a new language, but to a new understanding of himself and the world around him. And as he looked to the future, he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, he had the strength and determination to face them head-on. At the Hospital Geral de São Paulo, Joao's miraculous awakening and his inexplicable ability to speak fluent Chinese had left both his family and the medical community in a state of bewildered awe. As Joao struggled to piece together his fragmented memories and adapt to his new reality, his wife Maria found herself grappling with the emotional and practical consequences of her husband's transformation. Determined to find answers, Maria embarked on a journey that would lead her into the realms of spirituality and the mysteries of past lives. Maria had always been a pragmatic woman, but the inexplicable nature of Joao's condition pushed her to explore avenues she had never considered before. She spent countless hours researching, reading about cases of sudden linguistic abilities and past life memories. Her search eventually led her to Lucia, a renowned medium known for her ability to connect with the spiritual world and uncover hidden truths. One rainy afternoon, Maria found herself standing at the door of Lucia's modest yet inviting home. The air was thick with the scent of burning incense, and the soft glow of candlelight created an atmosphere of calm and serenity. Lucia greeted Maria with a warm smile, her eyes radiating a sense of understanding and compassion. "Welcome, Maria. Please, come in, Lucia said, guiding her to a cozy sitting area adorned with plush cushions and vibrant tapestries. I understand you are seeking answers about your husband. Maria nodded, her heart heavy with a mixture of hope and desperation. Yes, my husband Joao, he woke up from a coma speaking fluent Chinese, and he has memories of a life he never lived. The doctors can't explain it, and I don't know what to do. Lucia listened intently, her eyes never leaving Maria's. What your husband is experiencing may be a connection with a past life. He could have been someone important in ancient China, and these memories are resurfacing now. Maria's eyes widened with a glimmer of hope. That would explain so much. But how can we help him? Lucia leaned forward, her voice gentle yet firm. The first step is understanding and acceptance. Joao needs to feel supported and validated in his experiences. It is also important to explore these memories further to see if they hold any clues to his current condition. As Maria absorbed Lucia's words, a sense of clarity began to emerge. She realized that Joao's experiences were not something to be feared or dismissed, but rather a part of his journey that needed to be embraced. With Lucia's guidance, Maria began to approach Joao's situation with a new perspective, one that was open to the possibilities of the spiritual world and the mysteries of the human mind. Over the following weeks, Maria and Joao continued their sessions with Lucia. Through guided meditations and spiritual consultations, Joao began to delve deeper into his memories of ancient China. He recalled vivid details of his life as a professor of philosophy, teaching students in a serene courtyard surrounded by blossoming cherry trees. He remembered discussing profound philosophical concepts and living a life dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. These sessions not only helped Joao understand his past life but also provided him with a sense of peace and purpose. He began to see his abilities and memories as a gift rather than a burden, and he embraced the opportunity to learn more about himself and his place in the world. As Joao's understanding of his past life grew, so did his bond with Maria. The couple worked together to integrate these new experiences into their lives, finding ways to reconnect and support each other. Maria's unwavering love and acceptance became a source of strength for Joao, helping him navigate the complexities of his dual existence. Dr. Carlos, who had initially been focused on the medical and scientific aspects of Joao's condition, found himself drawn into the spiritual dimension of the case. He began to see Joao not just as a patient, but as a unique individual with a profound story to tell. Dr. Carlos started to explore the intersection of science and spirituality, seeking to understand how the mind could access memories from a past life and manifest abilities that defied conventional explanation. One evening, as Joao and Maria sat in their living room, they reflected on the incredible journey they had undertaken. "I never imagined our lives would take this turn," Maria said, her voice filled with wonder. "But I am grateful for every moment, for the chance to understand you in a way I never thought possible." Joao smiled, reaching out to hold her hand. "I feel the same way. This experience has changed me, but it has also brought us closer together. I am thankful for your love and support." Their journey was far from over, but they faced the future with a renewed sense of hope and determination. Joao continued to explore his past life memories, using them to enrich his present and inspire those around him. He began to share his story at conferences and events, spreading a message of resilience, acceptance, and the incredible potential of the human mind. Maria, too, found a new sense of purpose. She became an advocate for the exploration of past lives and the integration of spiritual insights into the healing process. Her journey with Joao had opened her eyes to the profound connections that exist between the physical and spiritual realms, and she dedicated herself to helping others find their own paths to understanding and acceptance. Lucia remained a trusted guide and friend, supporting Joao and Maria as they navigated the complexities of their new reality. Her wisdom and insight provided them with the tools they needed to embrace the unknown and find meaning in their extraordinary experiences. In the end, Joao's awakening was not just a story of a man who spoke a new language, but a testament to the power of love, acceptance, and the human spirit. It was a journey that transcended the boundaries of time and space, connecting the past and present in a tapestry of memories, knowledge, and hope. And as Joao and Maria looked to the future, they knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, with open hearts and minds, ready to embrace the mysteries of life and the infinite possibilities it held. At the Hospital Geral de São Paulo, Joao's extraordinary case continued to baffle and intrigue everyone around him. As Joao delved deeper into his newfound abilities and memories of a past life, his wife Maria embarked on a spiritual journey to understand and support him. Meanwhile, Dr. Carlos found himself at a crossroads, questioning the very foundations of traditional science that had guided his career. Dr. Carlos was a man of science, a rational thinker who had always relied on empirical evidence to explain the mysteries of the human body and mind. Joao's case, however, presented a challenge that defied conventional medical understanding. The more Dr. Carlos studied Joao's condition, the more he realized that the answers might lie beyond the realm of traditional science. Late one evening, Dr. Carlos sat in his dimly lit office, surrounded by stacks of medical journals and research papers. He had spent countless hours poring over case studies and consulting with experts from around the world, yet he was no closer to understanding how Joao had acquired his linguistic abilities and memories of ancient China. Frustrated and exhausted, Dr. Carlos leaned back in his chair, his mind racing with unanswered questions. As he sifted through his notes, a thought occurred to him. What if the answers he sought could be found in the very culture and history that Joao seemed to remember so vividly? Dr. Carlos decided to explore alternative theories, delving into the rich tapestry of Chinese history and philosophy in search of clues. His research led him to an ancient manuscript, a rare and precious document that had been preserved in a private collection. The manuscript, written in classical Chinese, described a phenomenon eerily similar to Joao's condition. It spoke of individuals who, after experiencing a traumatic event, awakened with memories and abilities from a past life. The manuscript referred to these individuals as keepers of the ancient wisdom, suggesting that they had been chosen to carry forward knowledge from previous incarnations. Dr. Carlos's heart raced as he read the manuscript, the implications of its contents sending shivers down his spine. If the manuscript was accurate, it meant that Joao's condition was not a random anomaly but part of a larger, more profound mystery. Dr. Carlos could hardly believe what he was reading, but the evidence before him was compelling. Se isso for verdade, estamos diante de algo que desafia tudo o que conhecemos sobre a mente humana. Dr. Carlos muttered to himself, his eyes fixed on the ancient text. Driven by a newfound sense of purpose, Dr. Carlos immersed himself in the study of the manuscript, seeking to understand the deeper meaning behind its words. He consulted with historians, linguists, and spiritual leaders, each of whom provided valuable insights into the cultural and philosophical context of the document. The more he learned, the more he realized that Joao's case was not just a medical mystery but a gateway to understanding the profound connections between the past and present. As Dr. Carlos delved deeper into his research, he began to question the limitations of traditional science. He realized that the human mind was far more complex and mysterious than he had ever imagined, capable of accessing memories and abilities that transcended time and space. This revelation shook the very foundations of his beliefs, forcing him to reconsider everything he thought he knew about the nature of consciousness. One evening, as Dr. Carlos sat in his office, surrounded by books and notes, he received a visit from Maria. She had heard about his research and wanted to share her own experiences with Lucia, the medium who had been helping Joao explore his past life memories. "Dr. Carlos, I believe there is more to Joao's condition than we can understand through science alone," Maria said, her voice filled with conviction. "Lucia has helped Joao remember details of his past life, and it has brought him a sense of peace and clarity." Dr. Carlos listened intently, his mind racing with possibilities. "Maria, I have been studying an ancient manuscript that describes a phenomenon similar to Joao's condition. It suggests that Joao may be experiencing a connection with a past life, a concept that challenges everything we know about the mind." Maria's eyes widened with hope. "Do you think this could help Joao? Could it provide the answers we've been searching for?" Dr. Carlos nodded slowly, his gaze thoughtful. "I believe it could. We need to approach this with an open mind, combining our scientific knowledge with an understanding of the spiritual and cultural context. Only then can we hope to uncover the truth." Together, Dr. Carlos and Maria embarked on a journey to integrate the insights from the ancient manuscript with the spiritual guidance provided by Lucia. They worked tirelessly to support Joao, helping him navigate the complexities of his dual existence and embrace the memories and abilities that had resurfaced. As Joao continued to explore his past life memories, he found himself drawn to the teachings of ancient Chinese philosophy. He began to incorporate these teachings into his daily life, finding solace and wisdom in the timeless principles of balance, harmony, and the interconnectedness of all things. Dr. Carlos, too, experienced a profound transformation. His journey into the realms of spirituality and alternative theories opened his eyes to the limitless potential of the human mind. He started to see his role as a physician not just as a healer of the body, but as a guide who could help his patients explore the deeper dimensions of their consciousness. The collaboration between Dr. Carlos, Maria, and Lucia led to groundbreaking discoveries that bridged the gap between science and spirituality. They published their findings, sharing Joao's remarkable story with the world and inspiring others to explore the mysteries of the mind with an open heart and mind. Joao's case became a symbol of hope and resilience, a testament to the power of love, acceptance, and the human spirit. It challenged conventional beliefs and opened new avenues of exploration, reminding everyone that the answers to life's greatest mysteries often lie beyond the boundaries of what we can see and measure. In the end, Joao's awakening was not just a medical anomaly, but a profound journey of self-discovery and transformation. It was a story that transcended time and space, connecting the past and present in a tapestry of memories, knowledge, and hope. And as Joao, Maria, and Dr. Carlos looked to the future, they knew that they had only just begun to scratch the surface of the incredible potential that lay within the human mind and spirit. At the Hospital Geral de São Paulo, Joao's extraordinary case continued to captivate everyone around him. As he delved deeper into his newfound abilities and memories of a past life, His wife Maria and Dr. Carlos found themselves drawn into a journey that transcended the boundaries of science and spirituality. Joao's condition had already challenged their understanding of the human mind, but what happened next would take them on a path they never anticipated. One evening, Joao experienced an intense vision. He saw himself in the midst of a fierce battle in ancient China, surrounded by warriors and the clang of swords. The vision was so vivid that he could feel the weight of the armor on his body and hear the shouts of his comrades. When he awoke, he began speaking in archaic Chinese, his voice filled with urgency and fear. Those around him were startled and confused, unable to understand the ancient dialect he was using. Maria and Dr. Carlos watched in awe and concern as Joao recounted his vision, his eyes wide with the intensity of the experience. They realized that the answers they sought could no longer be found within the confines of the hospital. It was time to take a bold step and seek the truth at its source. Together, they decided to travel to China, hoping to uncover the mysteries behind Joao's visions and abilities. At the airport, just before boarding their flight, Joao turned to Maria and Dr. Carlos, his expression resolute. Wabishu Zhaodaoduan, Wuluan Daijia Rua. Eu preciso encontrar respostas, a qualquer custo. Maria squeezed his hand, her eyes filled with determination. Estamos juntos nisso, Joao. Vamos descobrir a verdade. The journey to China was long and filled with anticipation. As they traveled, Joao shared more of his visions and memories, each one painting a clearer picture of his past life. He spoke of his time as a philosopher, teaching students under the shade of ancient trees, and of the battles he fought to protect his homeland. These memories were not just fleeting glimpses, they were deeply ingrained experiences that shaped his very being. Upon arriving in China, they made their way to an ancient temple nestled in the mountains. The temple, with its serene surroundings and timeless architecture, felt like a place out of Joao's visions. As they approached, an elderly monk greeted them, his eyes twinkling with wisdom and recognition. "Welcome," the monk said in perfect Portuguese. "We have been expecting you." Joao, Maria, and Dr. Carlos followed the monk into the temple, where they were led to a quiet chamber adorned with intricate tapestries and statues of ancient sages. The monk began to explain the temple's history and its connection to Joao's past life. He revealed that Joao was the reincarnation of a revered Chinese philosopher, a sage who had dedicated his life to teaching and preserving wisdom. The monk's words resonated deeply with Joao. It was as if the final piece of a complex puzzle had fallen into place, bringing a sense of clarity and completeness. Joao felt a profound connection to the temple and its teachings, and he knew that this was where he belonged. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the temple, Joao and Maria stood together, taking in the beauty of the moment. "Finalmente, sinto que sou eu mesmo, completo," Joao said, his voice filled with peace. Maria smiled, her eyes reflecting the same sense of fulfillment. "Eu sinto que te reencontrei, Joao. Estamos prontos para o próximo capítulo." With this newfound understanding, Joao began to integrate his past and present lives. He embraced his role as a teacher, sharing the wisdom of ancient Chinese philosophy with others. His classes were filled with students eager to learn from someone who had lived and breathed the teachings of the sages. Joao's unique perspective, enriched by his dual existence, inspired those around him to seek deeper meaning and understanding in their own lives. Dr. Carlos, too, found a renewed sense of purpose. He published a revolutionary study on Joao's case, bridging the gap between science and spirituality. His work challenged conventional beliefs and opened new avenues of exploration, encouraging others to embrace the mysteries of the mind and the interconnectedness of all things. Maria and Joao's bond grew stronger as they navigated this new chapter of their lives. They found joy and fulfillment in their shared journey, supporting each other through the challenges and triumphs. Their love, once tested by the unknown, now flourished in the light of understanding and acceptance. In the final scene, Joao stood before a captivated audience, giving a lecture on Chinese philosophy. His voice was calm and steady, filled with the wisdom of countless lifetimes. A vida es un ciclo continuo de aprendizado y crecimiento. O que somos hoy a soma de todas as nossas experiencias pasadas y presentes. Que possamos abracar o desconhecido y encontrar a sabedoria en cada momento. As he spoke, the audience listened intently, moved by the depth of his words. Joao's journey had come full circle, and he had found a way to unite his two identities into a cohesive and meaningful whole. His story served as a powerful reminder that the human mind is a profound mystery, and that the connections we forge can transcend time and space. Joao's life became a testament to the enduring power of love, resilience, and the pursuit of knowledge. He continued to teach and inspire, leaving a lasting legacy that would be remembered for generations to come. And as he looked out at the faces of his students, he knew that his journey was far from over. It was merely the beginning of a new and exciting chapter, one filled with endless possibilities and the promise of continued growth and discovery.